Everybody, uh, we have here Dinzen Namsam. Dinzen means contemplation. Namsum. Sum means actually three in Tibet. So I put it there, which is what is three contemplation. First, the Shin Niji Tinginzen, and second, Kuntun Nawi Tinginzen, and third is Jui Tinginzen. So, um, I put it here, but I'm so sorry I didn't put English each of them. But I put it here the main point, the three contemplations. So 19th of December, we are planning to going to do um, a retreat of Shirap Jama, but it's not only teaching. But also it's not only just reciting the mantras, but it's not just also uh, uh, just transmissions, just visualizations, but all the together, I think. um, and especially this pandemic time, um, it's a very special uh, retreat, uh, reciting mantras together, visualizing together, and that makes energy, you know, that makes feel happy for many people. Um, that's why I thought it's very important at these days. And Shirap Jama is actually um, it's a great deity, and if you look at her whole the conditions, whole uh, if you look at the details about Shirap Jama, Shirap Jama is one of the great wisdom, a great deity we call Yidam. Okay, so that's the reason why I put it here about three contemplations, because three contemplations are most important practice for all of tantric teachings. You know, we have two lower tantric teachings, we have two higher tantric teachings, but all of them, no matter higher, no matter lower, um, the three contemplations these are the foundation. These are the fundamental practice all of tantric teachings. If you have no idea about three contemplations, uh, read the mantras, visualizing, generating the deities, you visualizing the deities, it doesn't matter, it doesn't work, you know, because this you don't have the basic idea of tantric teachings. Um, so this is very important. The reason when you look at any kind of born tantric teachings, born tantric sadhanas, any sadhanas, if you look at any sadhanas of born tantric teachings, they start from the first contemplation always. They said Aniling Taptra Matopi, Aniling Taptra, which is the first contemplation. So that's why it's a very important. I told you uh, again, you have to learn this if you are interested about tantric teachings. You know, if you don't want to learn these art, you don't want to practice three contemplations, you have no idea. If you say, "Oh, I know lots of tantric teachings, I know tantra," but you can say this, but it's free for you. But the reality is, you have no idea about tantric teachings. Uh, that's why I just want to explain about a little bit. So uh, we have things. Look at this one, things, and we have here things. Okay, so it doesn't matter. It's just a little bit long, but it's a same meaning. Things and things, you know. So things it's something. Uh, things means actually also contemplations, contemplation, but also we can say focus. Strongly focus. For example, when we look at something and then we just think about that one, in our mind. We look at it through carefully through our eyes. Also, our mind is also focusing uh, that. For example, drinking tea in our glass. So just to think about a glass, just to look about a glass. This is the contemplation, not eyes in your mind, through your mind. This is the contemplation. This is the focus. Who's the focus? Your mind is focusing. Focus to glass, for example. You know. So this one is thing engine, which is a focus. Now, um, there's some very uh, their meaning. Okay, so first of all, Tevjin Nietzsche. Tevjin means actually when you look at directly into Tibet, Tevjin means such as. Nietzsche means sometimes a self, sometimes only. But the together, Tevjin means the natural state. If you look at it through Bon tradition, maybe some other traditions I don't really know, they have a different idea. But if you look at the Bon, the, the teachings, Tevjin means natural state or natural state of the mind or whatever you want to call the different names. But the reality is Tevjin means natural state. So Tevjin, which is same view, same idea, Dzogchen and tantric both. Dzogchen also practice the first contemplation, and all tantric practitioners, they also practice the first contemplation. It doesn't matter, it's just a natural state, you know. But Dzogchen and Tantra, they both agree. They both practice natural state, but Dzogchen, which is um, little, not little, it's a higher view and a higher practice than Tantric teachings. That's why Dzogchen knows many Dzogchen practitioners. They knows more about the first contemplation's qualities. You know, um, we have. I mean, they both practice, Dzogchen and Tantric, but Dzogchen knows more qualities of this first contemplation. That's why Dzogchen is becoming more higher. And Tantric teachers, Tantric practitioners, they also practice the first contemplation, but they don't believe only this one, only the first contemplation. That's why they added second and third. And for example, they start to practice natural state, and they look at natural state and continuously run in the one. Today they start practice like that. Tomorrow, many times they practice first contemplation, and then they thought the tantric practitioners, they thought, oh, this is not enough. Always just like stay natural state is not enough. I need to practice the compassion and love, equanimity, all these things is not also not enough. I want to generate, I want to visualize all these things. Then that's why this is becoming a tantric practitioner. If you practice continuously the first contemplation, someone who continuously to practice the first contemplation, then these people we call Dzogchen practitioners. You don't need to add anything. You just try to stay natural state, try to continuously to practice. That's enough for you. You have everything there, complete, you know, 10 professionals, four immeasurables, all these things included the first contemplation. But Tantric teachers, they have no idea this. And then they thought this is not enough. I want to edit something. Then they are becoming um, an Tantric practitioner. Okay, so first, what is exactly division thing in Zen? Um, it's quite simple. It's quite easy. Okay, when you think about that. But when you practice, when you study this practice of reality, um, seriously, seriously, you start to practice first contemplation. It's a little bit. I think it's it's difficult to believe. So how we really do practice this? Because in Bonn, one thing that we have complicated a little bit because in Bon traditional way, when you look at this first contemplation or natural state of the mind, sutra we have different view, but tantric teachings and Dzogchen teachings, all of them same. We said that beyond the mind, you know, this is beyond the mind. This is beyond the consciousness, our eyes, our mind. We cannot see natural state. It's a very um, deep. The one of the reason that in this samsara, in this world, what we are doing, everything we do things are through our consciousness. For example, if you go somewhere, you have to think in your mind, then you follow your mind, you go there. If you make something, like for example, if you want to make car, you have to think about the details before. I put this there and those there, and everything make created in your mind. Then you build the cars, house, aeroplanes, everything you can build through our mind. Even scientists, you know, every scientist, they study, they practice everything they do through mind. But in tantric teachings and Dzogchen teachings in through Bon, this first contemplation, natural state, we can say natural state, it's beyond the mind. That's a very complicated. How we do that? Usually uh, we do practice everything through our mind. We focus mind. We learn things through our mind. But when you look at when you start the tantric teachings or Dzogchen teachings, we have to try to do the practice through beyond our consciousness. It's easy to talk, but when you practice seriously, this is a bigger problem. You know. So now I don't want to more make complicated, but one thing that simply, good example is anger. We have everybody anger. Everybody have anger. Uh, no matter monk, no matter lay people, no matter lama, every human beings we have anger. And anger is also we can recognize easily. For example, we have attachment, but sometimes it's very difficult to recognize our attachment. But we everybody easily to recognize our anger. Some people have very strong anger. When they becoming angry, and their face also changing, like their face also becoming red or something. And so yeah, so anger is a little bit uh, clear example. um, you know um, when you get anger, you look at back your anger. The problem is people get anger, and then people follow the anger, then they become a fighting and kill each other and harm each other and say bad things, say bad words to others because they are following the anger. Only that's the reason why. If when you get anger, you try to follow, you don't follow to the anger. You try to look back on your anger. You know, then anger will naturally disappear. We don't know where disappear. I think it's disappear on on natural state. You know, so so this is how we practice first contemplation. You don't need to go somewhere. You don't need to move. You don't need to do a lot of things. You just stay comfortably sitting somewhere else. Then you have to look at you look back your thoughts. I put there example about anger, but not only anger. You can look at any of your thoughts. Then thoughts were going to disappear, and then you just nothing to do, just to relax. This is how we practice the first contemplation. We call it it's um, yeah, it's simply you have to practice like that. Look at the back, but even some people familiar to first contemplation, they don't necessarily to look back their thoughts or their emotions. But people who are beginner, intermediate, we have to practice look our thoughts, and then we will lose our thoughts. Our thoughts will disappear, and then we just stay like that, no created in any thoughts in our mind. So first one is like that. It's a very very important, and then this is a fundamental of the second one. We cannot lose the first contemplation. Yeah, of course, for beginners, when you started the second one, we will forget the first one. When you started the third one, we will forget when you start to practice the third one, we will forget the first and the second both. But practice first, and then practice second, and then practice third, and then again we practice try to first. It's continuously to practice. Then one day we can practice the three together at the same time. You when you practice the second, but you don't forget the first one, then your level is becoming ready to hire another great practice. A great practice is practice. Okay, so the second one, uh, it's uh, kunto, actually kunto. That means everything, everything included. All, let's say all. And then Nawa, it's visions, it's visions. And yeah, and third one, it's um, contemplation. We have here Tengen, here Tengen, here Tengen, right? But main practice is four immeasurables: compassion, equanimity, love, joyful, joy. These are the second practice. Because some people who started the first contemplation, first practice, and then they thought, oh, this is not enough. It's just empty. It's not enough for me. I want to practice more. The four immeasurables, these four immeasurables are wonderful, all these things. Then they are becoming tantric practitioner. So they added natural state about um, four immeasurables. Of course, four immeasurables, wonderful practice, um, but they thought the first one is not enough. That's why they added, you know. Uh, but for example, I think this is also important. We have to practice the second one. It's relatively the first one, you know. For example, when you practice the compassion, also you have to know that all sentient beings are the essence of all of sentient beings are empty. You are practicing compassion, but you think, oh, these are not emptiness, then your compassion is becoming wrong, you know. So that's why the second one, it's about uh, four immeasurables, okay. And then number third, when you look at this one, ju means, which means causes, you know, causes, because now this is, when you look at this one, it's we call Jui Tinginsen. Tinginsen is contemplation. So when you practice the third contemplation, we have visualize, you know. For example, we have to visualize the deities, because we want to become in like deities. That's why we visualize the many deities. So first, the number third is about how to practice, um, the how to focus the deities. Okay, so I told you uh, natural state of the mind. This one is a fundamental practice. If you don't know about this one, and you just focus compassion, love, joyful, and you just visualizing deities, this we don't call, this is not tantric practices. We don't say this is a tantric practice. This is just normal practice. I think low hinayanas, they also can practice like that. That's why we don't call this as tantric practice. Okay, so just to remember, uh, three contemplations as always when you are practicing tantric teachings, no matter lower tantric teachings, no matter higher tantric teachings. And yeah, for now, I just put it about this. And thank you very much, people who are watching this video. And hopefully, I will put more videos about Shirap Jama and also many other teachings.